Hey now! So first I want to start this video by thanking Mike Baseball Collector. I was watching a video that he did of the 10 basic greatest YouTube channels on that YouTube that he enjoys, something to that effect. And he included me for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but I do appreciate the shout out. All of a sudden, I probably gained about 40 new subscribers because of that one video. So if you're new to the channel, I hope you enjoy. I hope you can check out some more of my older videos. Most oftentimes, I feature older Hall of Fame autographs. I do some analysis of them and what to look for when you go to buy them. But one of the key things when you start to collect deep dives of Baseball Hall of Fame autographs is prospecting. I started this a little bit too late because I remember about 2005, Hunt Auctions had a collection of Deacon White autographs, and I had no idea who he was. And there was probably 3 to 4 autographs of him. I want to say they sold from $1,500 to maybe $5,000. And of course, he got into the Hall of Fame a couple of years later, and you can't find. I've never seen one offered since then. I take that back. I saw one offered as part of the Smiling collection, and I don't think it was ever separated. It was very shaky. Who knows it was real, but it was sorted. But like the autographs that the family let out were like his wedding certificate and his signed guide to the rules of baseball. And I know one changed hands privately for about $25,000. And again, those autographs sold for maybe at most $5,000, and again, as little as $1,500. So what I'd like to do now is do a deep dive into baseball history and try and figure out who will the committee select. Because if you can get their autograph now, obviously before they get in the Hall of Fame, the autograph's going to be worth much more once they get in. Now, there's the Minnie Minosos who have gone over the world, the Dick Allens, and I think all those players will get in. They all are well-deserving, but it's not a secret. I mean, the tough thing to do in this industry, or in this hobby, excuse me, is to go back and find those individuals, and I won't say men, you'll see why in a second, who I feel are Hall of Famers, but just haven't got their due yet because of history. And so I want to go over one of those individuals right now, and that is Joan Payson. And you're probably saying, who is Joan Payson? Joan Payson was the original owner of the New York Mets. She was the primary majority holder. She was the first female ever to purchase a major league team as opposed to inheriting it. She was the third female overall ever to own a major league team, but again, the first to actually go out and purchase it. She loved the New York Giants, and again, a lot of this is I got from her Saber biography, just to give full credit. And when the New York Giants proposed to move to San Francisco, she was devastated. She tried to block the sale. She was a very wealthy individual. You can look up the Whitney family. And because of that, when they left, she stayed back in New York. She didn't want to transfer her shares with Stillman when he moved it. And then it came word that New York was looking first to build a third league, the Continental League, that really never got off the ground. But Joan was spearheaded that. And when they being New York City, got an expansion league in 1960 awarded to them, Joan Payson, as I said, was the original majority shareholder. And she loved baseball. She was a little kooky, I guess, for the time. But again, loved baseball. And she took over. I think she was the first president ever of a major sports team back in 1968. And when they won the World Series, the Miracle Mets in 1969, guess who the president was? Yes, Joan Payson. She was the owner. She was the president. She was really ahead of her time for like a female owning and running a major sports franchise. I guess her and Effa Manley are very similar in that regard, except obviously Joan was much better off. In addition to that, she loved Willie Mays, and she orchestrated Willie Mays coming back from San Francisco back to the Mets. And every one of her players talked about what a wonderful owner she was. As a matter of fact, when the New York Mets finally opened up their Hall of Fame, I want to say it was 1980, one of the first 2 inductees was A, Casey Stengel, and B, Joan Payson. Now, oddly enough, her autograph is really tough to come by and pretty sloppy, which I'll show you in a second. So without further ado, let's do a fairly deep dive into the autograph analysis of Joan Payson. So since I started mining potential Hall of Famers, she was always on my list. Now, every autograph I saw of hers was signed Mrs. C. Payson. And it was very common at the time for all the newspapers not to refer to her, because it was a male-dominated industry, as Joan Payson, but they referred to her as Mrs. Charles Payson, her husband. He was a shipping magnate, but he was not a baseball fan at all. She was the one that ran the team. So I was looking and looking, and then all of a sudden in 2018, about 4 autographs popped of hers, and I bought this one because at the time I thought it was the nicest. Took it right away to Beckett at the National in 2018, and I had it authenticated. A couple of months later, the money was returned to me, the autograph sent back, not authenticated. They didn't fail it, they said they couldn't authenticate it. I saw Steve Grad a couple of months later, and I asked him what happened, and he told me flat out, listen, we don't have any actual autographs of her in our database that we can confirm that this is real or not. But in the meantime, the person that actually obtained these autographs from the original individual who got all 4 of them was able to get them certified by JSA. So what did I do? I take it to JSA when they are in town right here. And of course, I got a JSA full letter of authenticity. Now, that is actually not the only Joan Payson autograph I own. During the pandemic last year, a bunch of letters, again, not all baseball letters, but she's always in my safe searches, popped up. And this autograph popped up. And you can see this is on letterhead from 1947, which is prior to her owning the Mets. And it says, "Dear sirs, I am very sorry. I will be away and unable to attend the dinner on September 27th. But I would like to enclose my check as a contribution." And this is signed, a full name, Joan Whitney Payson. Let's compare the two. I mean, night and day in terms of signatures. Now, granted, this was signed in 1947, and this is to the Jockeys Guild. She loved her horses. She loved her baseball. And again, this is signed much later in 1973. So you can see how her autograph got much worse, obviously, as time went on. That being said, I've never seen anything like this autograph. So there is still a current autograph out there of hers on eBay from the original collection. I think the seller wants $750 right now. It does have Willie Mays on there. And like I said, she loved Willie Mays. Willie Mays loved her like a mother. And I don't know if the sellers were willing to negotiate, but that autograph, I would say, is easily a 4-figure autograph. When and if, I should say if and when she gets in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if she will get in this year, but I would say within the next decade, I think the Hall of Fame is going to look to diversify and look for more women possibly that are eligible. And there's currently no more eligible woman I know looking in from the outside than Mrs. C. Payson, Joan Whitney Payson. So just a little heads up, if you see an autograph of hers, I would jump all over it, because she is going to be extremely difficult to get. That's about all. If you can think of anyone else that I missed, a female that deserves induction to the Hall of Fame currently, I'd love to hear about it. And as always, keep collecting.